It works when you try it. Yeah. Okay, well, you might have to try it. Our clicker isn't working. So my name is Alana Winnick, and some of you might know me from my work at NICEgate, where I am the Hudson Valley Director for NICEgate. If you're in this CS for New York session, that means you're probably from New York. And if you don't know about NICEgate, you should probably check it out. Highly encourage it, not because I'm on the board, but I absolutely fell in love with the organization. And we have a conference coming up in November, and we're in a session right now. Okay, sorry, that's what happens in that. So if you're not familiar with NICEgate, you should definitely check it out. It's a great organization. And just a bit more about me. So my role here at Computational is I'm the Educational Technology Director and Data Protection Officer. And then I also, speaking about AI, I know a bunch of you are interested in it. I just wrote a book called The Generative Age, Artificial Intelligence in the Future of Education. And I have a podcast called The Generative Age, and we'll talk about that at the way end. But today we're really here to talk about how we're implementing it in the classroom with our third grade students. So this is Marina, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Marina Lombardo, and I'm a third grade general education teacher at Botanical Hills with Alana. And I'm an ISTE certified educator, and one of my most recent accomplishments is that last NICEgate I went through the TED Masterclass program, and I was able to get on the big stage and give a TED Talk. So that was pretty cool.
And then she brought that back to this very classroom, and she does a TED Talk unit here. She's presenting that at NICEgate, so if you're there, check it out. It's really powerful. Anyway, we're here for AI and computer science, so we will keep going. But we do a lot of great things here in this room. So we're here for computer science and AI. So first, we approach the students, and we're asking them, what does intelligence mean? What does this mean? And we took a lot of video clips, and we're going to present this again at NICEgate, and we're going to compile video, but it's September 28th. We've only had these students for a couple of weeks of school now, and we are still actually working on this project. We are not done, but we'll show you where we've gotten to at this point and where the amazing work that they've done, but this is still a work in progress that we're working on right now. We asked them, what is intelligence? They said, it's your brain and being smart. They said words like that, right? Like smart, using your brain, things like that. And it was very interesting because we're going to talk a bit about human intelligence and artificial intelligence, but if we go to the next slide, I'll let Marina talk a bit about this one, but they were already doing this. So it was a really nice segue when I came in to talk about artificial intelligence. So Marina, do you want to tell them a bit about this?
Yeah, so in our school, we have an SEL program that we introduce the kids to early on, and the travels with them throughout their years vertically, called Second Step. It's led by our guidance counselor, but it's co-taught by the general education teachers with the guidance counselor support. And it was coincidental that our first Second Step lesson was about the human brain and how the different parts of the brain help us to do and perform different functions. And we were talking about connections and neural pathways, and it was kind of just perfect because it was a nice lead-in to talking about our brain with what computers might do and the systems and infrastructures around them.
So when we started talking about intelligence, they had a lot to say because I literally just learned this maybe the period before, and that was a really cool intersection for us. I'm actually presenting on that at NICEgate too, with the SEL, the teacher that Marina mentioned. We're going to talk about human intelligence and artificial intelligence. So if you're at NICEgate, come check that out. So first we introduced them to what is machine learning and what is AI. Keep in mind, these are third graders. How old are they?
Some are still seven. Most of them are 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. They've heard of AI. They heard AR. I guess something came up with AR, and they thought that was AI, and someone made a mistake. So they've heard this. They didn't really understand what it was. So we went on code.org, which has a really great lesson. You could use for our code, or you could just do it at any time. We just did it here. They had a really great video that I think was age appropriate and taught the students about machine learning and what artificial intelligence is.
And the interesting thing actually was that one of the students had been tinkering around in code.org independently. And when Alana came in for the push-in lesson, and we kind of were just probing, what do you think we're going to talk about? This particular student said AI right away. And we were kind of looking at each other like, how did he possibly know that?
Yeah.
But it was
actually, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I was like thinking, like, did he know that about what I do outside of work? I couldn't. We kept asking him, why did you guess that? But he couldn't give us an answer.
It turns out that he had actually watched this video and he had taken a look at the activity that was on code.org.
And we didn't post this anywhere.
No.
This is just on his own, right?
Yeah. So clearly the interest was there in some of this work for this with the students to start.
All right. So then after they watch this video, there's a really cute game that you have to train the AI if it's a fish or if it's garbage, and this is really to help pollution in the ocean. So we talked about like what characteristics does a fish have, and then they came up with things like, you want to say the things they came up with?
Fins,
eyes. And we were talked a lot about what makes a fish, and then when we were going through it, they were actually being silly a little. Some of them like, technically it's a fish. It was really cute, but they were really analyzing each one and deciding if it was a fish or not. And we taught them that this is how you train the AI. This is how you, or not the AI. That's what they kept calling it, the AI. The AI. Like it was a person. They were giving it personal characteristics, which I thought was really cute. But yeah, so we trained AI, what was a fish and what wasn't. And if you go to the next slide. This is a slide of Marina with the students, and they were analyzing what the AI, now I call it that, classified as a fish. And if you notice that Marina's pointing to the soda can things, we didn't get one correct. So when we ran it through, it made a mistake, and we talked about larger data sets with maybe if we had gotten that several more times, it would have known that it wasn't, but because we only got it one time, it wasn't trained properly, right? We talked about things like that.
Yep.
You want to add anything else to this?
No, I think that was kind of how it went. We just said that we hadn't seen that particular item come up enough, and we hadn't trained it enough to not know that that wasn't a fish.
Right. And then this was pretty funny. They kept calling it a robot. They kept calling AI a robot. And then I was asking them, can you see it? Like, is it a robot? What does AI look like? Let's talk about it. What does it look like? And it's not a robot. It's a computer. And I'm like, is it a computer? And then we started talking about the cloud. You want to tell the story that the one student shared?
Yeah, so one of the students articulated really nicely what the cloud is. And their example was, if you drop your phone in a pool, you won't lose your pictures because they're in the cloud. So we were automatically like, wonder if that probably happened to their family. But it was a really great visual understanding for the kids. And then actually it just so happened, as things usually do organically later on in the day, when we were doing some digital writing composition using Word, a student said, do I have to save this? And I said, this is a perfect example. No, it's being saved into the cloud. It's automatically saved.
Yeah.
So it kind of really led into a lot of great language about concepts that are not visible.
Yeah, because that was a big one for them. They can't see it. They didn't really understand what the AI was. So this is when we talked more about AI with the students and input versus output. So this is, Marina gave an example, and she did one before they ever wrote a prompt. And do you want to talk some of it about this particular part of the lesson?
Yeah, so we really wanted to begin to introduce the students to a lot of the language that is tied to computer science and computational thinking. And we decided that it was a really great time just right away to begin to start using input and output. So I created a visual. This literally was my prompt, and this really is the artwork that the generative AI pushed out, which we used Dolly. So I showed them that as the human, Marina, Miss Lombardo, I'm inputting a prompt. So I'm putting in the information that I'm crossing my fingers, hoping I see what I picture in my mind. The output is being done by the AI. So I tried to map that out using like an arrow directionality, almost like a cause and effect type of relationship too.
So once we talked about input and output, and they understood what an input was and what an output was, we then had to introduce them to a prompt. So the prompt is your input, and the image is your output. And we started to talk about what would make a good prompt. So there's this website, Prompt Guesser. I put the link for you. I'm always very hypercritical of checking everything before we put it on the screen. So we had frozen the screen, and I would shuffle the picture and get one that I thought was appropriate. They don't even know how to get to this website. They don't want to play it. They thought it was a game. They really thought we were playing.
They kept saying, press see hint, and
yeah, and then afterwards, like, can we play that game again? And we're like, it's a game, but it's really educational.
It was really cool because for this, they have to use a lot of language, and they're orally composing, which, in helping kids to learn, different types of, writing and how to approach their writing, we know that like oral rehearsal is really important for just kind of like processing some of your ideas. So it was really great, like beginning activity for them to collaboratively talk out and play around with language.
And then we started adding more language. So here's an example, and they would have to describe what this character looked like, where they were, what they were holding, and really look at the image and write a very descriptive prompt, which would generate this image. And it gives you a score of how close you were. So that was pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And we talked about why they might not have gotten a good score on that one, what maybe we could have added to make it a better score. And I think a lot of that was really around becoming a better, more descriptive writer too. Mm-hmm. It was, yes, to get the best, one of the highest score because they're so competitive. But I think it was helping with their writing, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And here is a picture of them starting to write their prompts. So that's in our very room where we are right now. Mm-hmm. So they had a chance to write a prompt. And because, we're in New York State and we have Ed Law 2D, data privacy and security laws, they're not allowed to log on to like Dolly or Midjourney or any of those tools by themselves. The only one that we have that's compliant right now is Canva, because they just signed the statewide agreement. So if you reach out to your district, they can use the New York State opt-in agreement. So just go to your director of technology and ask them if they opted in for Canva.
And Padlet too, right?
Padlet I had to pay for. But yeah, that one has, they do have an AI in Padlet too, but I'm just giving everyone free tools too. So Canva is free, and you can have the paid version for free, but you just need to opt in for the agreement. Padlet we do pay for. With this is the first time we were introducing it. We want to make sure that all of the images were accurate. We'll go through some of the images that the outputs that came out, but this was their initial prompt writing when they first started to write their prompts. And then,
we just let them explore with their previous writing skills that they came in with, just to kind of see what they would get their inputs.
So after they got their outputs, which we'll show you some of them in a minute, but once they had their outputs, we started, and these are the computational thinking and computer science language that we started to build into this writing unit. So pattern recognition. So they analyzed, let me also tell you that we had a collaborative PowerPoint, and there was student one slide, prompt one, student one, prompt two, student one, prompt three, and they each had 3 prompts, and they had to find their collaborative slide. And just like with any other class, you have to remind them that they have to stay on their slides and they're not allowed to go on anyone else's, because that's being a good digital citizen and respecting each other's work. So we had all those conversations. It was collaborative. They can see everyone else's prompts and everyone else's outputs. And then they had to analyze them and find similarities. Which images came out really well based on the prompts, and which ones didn't come out so well, and why. So we started recognizing patterns, and that helped us develop our algorithms. And that's another computer science word, but we started developing algorithms of what made a good prompt and what maybe didn't. And they helped us create these algorithms. So it's not like we said, here's an algorithm to write a prompt. We let them come up with their own prompt and then analyze all of them to come up with algorithms to make better prompts. And so this was not one of theirs, but they found this so silly. They were hysterically laughing. So it says the AI prompt was salmon in the river. And a lot of them have had salmon for dinner, and they know what salmon looks like for dinner versus the fish in the pot. They thought this was the funniest thing they've ever seen. So instead of calling one student out and criticizing their work for maybe not being as descriptive, we used something like this that was a little bit silly and generic to have those conversations on how they could be maybe a little bit more clear with what they were asking the AI to generate. And so as we were doing this, one of the things, I thought I had shuffled this, but that's totally okay. I thought I put this somewhere else, but it's a good spot for it. So there was a few things that we started doing as we were working on these. So with dictation, a lot of, it's not this particular student. There's, in third grade, they're learning how to write and spell, and they can't write and spell all the words correctly because they're 7 and 8 year olds. So we use other AI tools such as dictation and spell check, and we'll show you those in a minute. And if they didn't know how to spell a word, they were finding that the AI image wasn't really that great because they misspelled a word. And we'll show you some examples of what happened when the words weren't spelled correctly. So in order to help them have a better output, we use other AI tools such as dictation and spell check to help them really refine the prompts to get the best results. So here's a student teaching us how to use dictation. She was the expert that showed the rest of the class.
I'm going to teach you how to do dictation. In PowerPoint, there's dictation and there's a microphone. And if you talk into the microphone, then it will go on to whatever you're typing. And it's easier than just regular typing because all you have to do is speak into it instead of type it with your fingers.
So they learned this pretty quickly. I don't know how to write this word. The image isn't going to come out so great. So I have a couple options. I could use spell check, but sometimes the red underline doesn't come out. You'll see someone try to spell tutu and they wrote T-O-T-O, and it didn't come up as incorrect. So something like dictation will help you get a better response. But we also did remind them that we do need to practice our typing, and we do need to learn how to become better typers and writers. So we don't use dictation for everything. We only use it for certain things. But this was allowed in this particular assignment. Is there anything else? So here is an example of an algorithm. I'll let Marina talk about this because I talked a bit much, but do you want to talk about this one algorithm? This was the first one. This is our first algorithm.
Yeah, so thinking about sentence structure and composing, we also thought about well, that's kind of like an algorithm. And are there different types of categories or ideas that we can layer together or put in certain sequence to be more precise and be more accurate about what we want to see in our output? So we thought first about some action words, and we taught the kids words generate, the word generate, especially if we were explaining what generative AI is. So we suggested, okay, maybe you start your prompt with generate or produce or even make or create. And then what type of image are you looking for? Are you looking for a photograph? Are you looking for an illustration? So we wanted them to start layering and putting the words in that sort of sequence so that it might say generate an illustration of or produce a photograph of. And then I really kind of pushed them to do animals a little bit. So I said okay, well, what's your animal? And then the descriptive word, and then put them in order. So really when you think about grammar concepts, that's nouns and then adjectives that are describing the nouns and then putting them in that particular order. And that doesn't have to be the only way that things go, but it was a reliable way that could work for them.
So here's a little bit more on that. So they kept using the word cute
Yeah. And real.
and real. No, okay, so cute was funny for us because, it's like subjective, it's not objective. Like, not everyone thinks the same exact thing as cute. So we were telling you have to be really specific and really literal, and you have to be really descriptive, and you can't just say a lot. Like, okay, you want a lot of trees. How many is a lot? Is it 10 trees? Is it a forest of trees? So that's not specific. So we were really drilling down to being very objective and specific.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next slide, I don't like the P word, but there was some paper involved. It's okay.
Well, we had the paper because
No,
we made it into a physical checklist, which we could have made a digital checklist, but
Yeah.
it is a little bit early in the year. And although the kids do come in with quite a nice variety of skills with using their learning devices, as we've just shared, they don't have typing proficiency yet. So there was paper. Yes,
Yeah.
there was. I know. I even said Alana's not going to be happy about this, but I did print this out so that they could physically circle the action word that they were going to use for their prompt. They could physically circle the type of image, and then they could check it off as they were doing it.
And then, so these are the words that we all came up with: illustration, photograph, sculpture, 3D, digital image. We tried to come up with a list of these together so, they felt like they were part of building these algorithms for them. And then again, the generate, create, those types of words too. That came up when we were teaching them about the word generate.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I'm so sorry, there's a typo on the second one. We will fix that for you. But this is the next iteration of the algorithm that came out of it, because we took that first algorithm and they rewrote their prompt, but they still weren't getting, some of them, the image that they saw in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So then this next iteration of the algorithm came out. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would say that part of this is just us also playing around too. So working off of the observations of their kids, analyzing their writing. So for me as their general education teacher, I'm seeing a lot of their writing. And then we're also thinking about okay, how can we use this writing for this specific purpose? And we kind of thought okay, well, let's think of it now let's make that let's build off on that algorithm idea. So we're thinking okay, well, maybe you start with that action word for the AI. And I was following what the kids did when I put that. And then for the second thing, again, stick with that type of image. Then after that, why don't you write the name of the most important object in your image? So that would be that animal that they chose, or for some of them, they chose something else. And then here's some directional stuff. So you're realizing there's a lot of directional pieces here too. In front of the most important object, add a color, size, or texture to give it that description. And then after the object, add an action. So my purple seahorse should be smiling. And then after that, we wanted to make sure that they added the environment so that it started to tell a story. So for my example, I have my purple seahorse smiling in a clear lake. And I was modeling with my prompt as well. And then for 7, write another sentence with extra. So anything extra, make sure that there are fish in the background.
And then a really great thing that came out of this was totally made the AI output better, but they were writing really long run-on sentences, really long. And we realized, or they realized, they were really analyzing these patterns. We were guiding them that if they made sentences and multiple sentences, the outputs were a lot stronger, which actually helps them with their writing, because we would never write a run-on sentence that long anyway. But Miss Lombardo, their teacher, can tell them all she wants not to do a run-on sentence. But when their image is generated better by doing that, then they're going to listen to that more. No offense to you, you're a great teacher, but
they were writing how they speak.
Yeah.
Right. So we speak in run-ons, we speak in fragments, and that's informally how we talk. And one thing we realized is that you may just need to have to be a little bit more formal and discreet if you really want to get what you're looking for.
Yeah. And they do love her and listen to her. I'm just saying, anyone that you hear your teacher say something and you're like, yeah, okay. And then when you're trying to get the best image and you realize, oh, if I break this up into multiple sentences, it's actually better. And you see it, then there's, now I get it. So this was really cute. So the whole first part was us just showing you about writing the prompts. But now we're going to move on to the second part, which was the debugging. So I'll let Marina tell you a bit about this part.
Yeah, and for a while I've always thought that debugging and writing is really like the revising and editing part, right? Really smoothing out and fixing out things that might not make sense, things that are not clear. And I had a student 2 years ago who loved Grace Hopper, and this was a book that she brought into my classroom to share with the class. And ever since then, I have been reading it. So that's 2 more years. And actually, so during our snack time, during Read Aloud, I purposely read them this biography on Grace Hopper. And I learned that debugging is a term that she coined because she actually found a moth inside of a computer that she was trying to fix that had a problem. So I thought that was a really, really important history for the kids to know, but also could really like help to really solidify that language for them so that maybe they'd start to use it interchangeably with like looking for problem solving and looking for something that may need a little bit more attention to bring more clarity to it.
And they could use in their writing too when they're editing. It's like they keep like in their writing.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a sort of reflection questions that Marina had come up with to help guide the students through debugging their work.
Yeah, and we know that sometimes, you know, with writing, it's like revise or edit your work, but unless we know also that language of what we should be asking ourselves, that metacognition, we may not know what to do, and we're just maybe looking for someone to tell us what to do. So I kind of built out some question sets for them to think about, like, if it's not creating what you want, look back. Did you tell it the type of image? Did you use a specific descriptive word? Ask yourself those questions, and if you can locate it, great. If not, maybe that's like your first step. Maybe it's starting to think about those two things.
And here's just her going through that with the question. It's
Yeah.
funny to see their facial expressions if you see some of them. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't, and they're having like those aha moments of processing things. And I realized I didn't swap this, but some of them are the same, it's fine. So these were just some conversation starters to help them have discussions. So we really wanted them to collaborate with each other and debug with one another. So look at your friend's prompt. Maybe you can help them. Maybe you know notice something they didn't notice. So we put up just some conversation starters for them to talk to each other.
Yeah, and again, like the last two, they really came out of what we were noticing from the students, especially the last one in purple that says, are you using words that have more than one meaning? So we had a couple of instances where that happened, and you know, we had to have conversations with like, okay, you have to be really specific again about what it is that you want. Don't put baby cat, put kitten, because otherwise you might end up with a baby
One of them had a baby
in your image instead of that kitten that you're hoping to say.
And here, so we call them simulations because that is a computer science word. When you create something and then you go and you run it and you test it. So that's what we called when, and we didn't let them run their prompts through the AI. We did it because we just wanted to make sure the images were like appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But once we have Canva up and running, that'll be a little bit safer. Or now in Padlet, that's safer too. But we use Dolly, and we just didn't want to have them. Well, they legally can't do it anyway. But I'm very hopeful that there'll be an AI that's compliant, and the students will use very, very, very soon. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And here's just some of them. So what I did is we put their reflection. Oh, we also had them reflect each time on Padlet. I forgot to mention that. Mm-hmm. So we had a Padlet and we had reflection 1, reflection 2, reflection 3. So each time when they opened when they came in, when I came in, they opened the PowerPoint, they viewed the images that we put in for them, and then they went to the Padlet and they reflected to say, did they think that the AI did a good job or not, and why? And what they could do to make it better, right? Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much. We really wanted this to be a reflective practice for them. We didn't want it to just be like, this is really fun and I'm making. We wanted it to really go back to like what we're saying with like the second step and thinking about like what is this all about? What are you learning? how would you do this different?
And in second step, they do learn that our human brain, human intelligence, we learn by making mistakes. So the AI might learn from making, oh, there's a mistake. What can I do to improve it? And that's a way to train your brain and also to train the AI to do a better job. So making mistakes is okay, right?
All right, well, let's hear what this student has to say.
I like what my AI did because I asked for a dog in the middle of a soccer field with a soccer ball on a turf field in the middle of the soccer field with a lot of trees, and it gave me that, but when I asked for a goal, it only gave me the bottom of the goal. So next time I'm going to ask for the blue goal and a white goal.
I just want to make sure, can you guys hear that audio? I wrote it in the chat, but just let me know. I just want to make sure you can hear it. Okay, great. So there's her reflection, and then we're going to show you her prompt.
I'm sorry.
So there's her prompt and her response. A real 3D dog in the middle of a soccer field running with a soccer ball toward a goal on a turf field with a lot. Do you see the run-on sentence we were talking about? It's a run-on sentence. So once she shortened those into smaller sentences, she actually got a much better output. Oh, this one's really cute.
I really liked my pictures that the AI did for me, that the AI regenerated for me. It wasn't perfect because the roses were not in the background, they were on the ground. The background was pink toilet paper, and it wasn't perfect. I still loved it. The ballet shoes, kids were on the ballet shoes, but it was adorable and I loved it. Anyway, the AI did do a great job. I like it. Bye.
So you see, they really liked it. So that was where she wrote a real cute kitten. So we'll talk about this in her next one. But here was her first prompt. And then you'll notice she kept this word real. So this one came out well. But when she did her second prompt and she kept that word real cute kitten, you're going to hear what happened.
I did like my apple, and it was cartoon. Okay, yes, but I should have added. Then I think I still like my first print. It still looks cute. Yeah. I really like my first print. This one
So she hated this one. She was pretty upset. She really was pretty. You could go to the next slide so we could see it. She wrote real cute. So that's when we discovered the objective versus subjective. It probably thought she meant a really cute kitten. And the AI thought a really cute kitten was a cartoon, not a real one. We could hear in her reflection. She said, I think if I used the word photograph, it would have came out better, right? And she was upset. So immediately I was like, let's change it. Let's swap it out. And let's look at the third prompt that came out of changing just that word photograph. And once we added photograph, she got the really cute kittens again. But really cute is subjective, and it's the photograph of a cute kitten. That's how she got a better output by being a little bit more descriptive in her writing, really, because this is about writing too. It's about computer science and inputs and outputs and prompts, but it's also about her writing and descriptive writing. Oh, this one's funny too.
A snake with arms and a rat head. I do that.
I'm just noticing that they don't have their microphones.
Yeah, I noticed you didn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to teach them that.
Yeah.
But
this student basically created like I said it twice to Alana yesterday, a Greek mythological beast because of how he was composing and putting words next to each other. And he was definitely shocked when he saw like this melding of a snake and a rat. That's why he said rat head. So he was like, what? So
we'll let you see it. It's really funny. Well, it's not funny, but it is. So if you look at the first one, like, look at what the AI outputted for the first one. It said a big black timber rattlesnake is in striking position on a rock in the forest, attacking a rat with a shirt that says food. At first, that's a really long run-on sentence.
mhm.
But it came out with these super creepy images to a point where, like, do we put this on here? It's like a little bit creepy, but it wasn't anything that was that bad. So we said it was fine. We can put it on. But if you see how he adapted the prompt to say, let's say, that's where the writing, we have to go back and edit, but make a photograph of a black snake on a rock in a forest, period. The snake is attacking a brown mouse, period. There is a lake in the background, period. So if you see the image, the output is significantly closer to what he was looking for.
Another really big realization with this, which is a writing and for the input, is that before we went back to that second sentence, I worked with him one-on-one through conferring. He wrote, "It is attacking a brown mouse." And I was able to have a conversation with him about pronoun vagueness because I said, well, what's it? Is it the forest, the rock, or the snake, or the photograph? So you have to go back and, really change that it and say, well, what is attacking the brown mouse? Just repeat it out.
The thing I didn't like about my photo that the AI came up with is that it was like a cat, but it was like doing a karate kick. And I noticed that I spelled the word ballet wrong.
So this is where the spell check comes in, or the dictation. That's why I meant to put these down here, so I'm sorry, but it's fine. She noticed that she spelled ballet wrong. She spelled it B-A-L-L-A. Well, we could see it in her prompt in the next slide. Oh, sorry. So a cute cartoon cat doing Bella. I guess it's Bella. And that's what she got. And she thought it looked like karate, not ballet, which that's not what she wanted. And then if you notice, her second one was produce a photograph of a cute real kitten doing ballet with, and this is a toto, not tutu, and ballet shoes. In the background, there are flowers and a dark pink wall behind her. So the multiple sentences and the being really descriptive and really working on the writing, I don't know why it's spaced like this, came out with a much better prompt. But I didn't want her to be upset because I knew that the last girl was upset when the image wasn't exactly what she wanted. So I spelled the word tutu correctly and then just duplicated the slide for her. And you'll notice in the next one, I dumped this in there. I didn't say anything. And afterwards, could you see what I put in there? And I wrote, you spelled tutu incorrectly. When I changed the spelling, this is what the AI generated. And she loved it. And it was exactly what she wanted. But she quickly learned that spelling was very important. So we taught her about spell check. And then she went around teaching the rest of the class about spell check. And guess what? Spell check is actually AI. So part of the lesson. So they were teaching each other about spell check and dictation. So all of that just naturally came out, and it was actually AI too, so it's very relevant. And then I noticed this. So this was the one student who I asked to write the thing about dictation. And when we watch them doing their Padlets, they really do pause. They want to listen to themselves before they post it. They don't just write their reflection and submit it just to submit it. They actually reflect and they listen to themselves, and then they redo it, sometimes multiple times. Mm-hmm. And I think when they're doing their writing and they speak it, hearing themselves speak helps them become better writers. Is there anything you want to add to that? Like you see their writing development, their reflections more than I do.
Yeah, but again, just going back to what I said even at the beginning, that like that idea of orally rehearsing your ideas is really a prerequisite for expression with the writing and composition. So it's great that the kids are so open to it, and not only are they looking and debugging their writing, but maybe they're like rewatching their videos and saying like, oh, I don't like how I was saying, I don't like how I didn't say the right word there. I took too long, and really purposefully reflecting. And not only are the kids reflecting, but Alana and I are reflecting, because we realized that doing this type of work with the students was really promoting a lot of critical thinking and reflection skills. We felt that they were making decisions about how they wanted to compose the prompts. Like we did give them some algorithms and suggestions on how to do it, but ultimately they were still exploring and working through it themselves, taking guidance from strategies and suggestions. They were also analyzing prompts to determine where the writing wasn't clear. So sometimes that was in conversations with Alana or I. Sometimes it was in conversations with their peers. Sometimes it was just we had a lesson, they looked back at it, and they realized something. We also felt that it really helped with some problem solving about how to be more precise so that the results are closer to the expectations. To not just give up and be like, oh, that's just what it is, to say like, no, there's room for growth. And I've always been a big fan as a writing teacher of telling kids like, your writing is never done. So I think that this is a perfect exercise to really help them understand that. Like if you want that output that you're really looking for, that picture, if you want something close enough to what you're imagining in your mind, like don't give up on the written part of it. Keep going at it until you get what you want. And not only that, as one of the early writing exercises, for me, it also gave me some writing implications about things that I needed to work with with my students, such as sentence structure and the run-on sentences. Knowing that we speak sometimes informally in run-on sentences, but knowing what is a complete thought, what is a complete idea, how do we end those complete ideas and then continue. Beginning to build up their vocabulary, we did a great job of including a lot of computer science terms to help them build their proficiency in that area, but also more descriptive language to help them, with adjectives and adverbs for their action words, and also the varied language, just really getting, again, into that vocabulary as well and trying out different combinations and seeing what happens when we put certain words in different positions.
And so we didn't ask them, what did you think? Did you like it? It was very evident to us. We didn't even have to ask them what they thought, because every time I walked in the room for something else, like prepping for this, if I walked in the room, first of all, they were so excited to see me. Miss Winnick, oh my God, are we going to do AI? Are we going to take out our computers? They were just so excited if I walked in the door. But not only that, so do you want to tell about this other project that you're doing?
Yeah, so right now we're working in collaboration with a school in Kenya and a partnership through Level Up Village, where we connect with a class out there of students around the same age, and we get to know one another through video interaction. So the students had to answer a couple questions about their life here, and one of the questions was, what's something you do during the day in school? So it was pretty telling, the answer, that we weren't explicitly asking them of if they enjoyed the project by what they produced, some of them, during the video work for the other project. So we'll play it for you. You can hear it yourself.
One thing we do during school day is technology workshop. One thing I do during the school day is math and technology workshop. I like using my computer and doing up and coding. I like doing tech workshop, also known as technology workshop. Something we do during school is art and technology workshop.
It's funny because I put on our flow of the day technology workshop, and although I embed so much of technology into my reading and my writing and my math workshop and my content area, we do have like some slices of the day, and Alana and I carved out for an official just technology workshop where we spent the whole time doing it. And she was like, "What is this technology workshop thing?" And I was like, "Well, we do reading workshop, we do writing workshop, we do math workshop, so I just call it technology workshop."
Yeah.
But the kids are, holding on to that language, and it's clear if they're talking about it, it's something they enjoy.
One thing.
So what's next? So this is what we've done up until right now today. We're not done. Like, what's next? So what do you think?
So my hopes and dreams for this. Well, should we play the video first?
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
okay.
I got my images from the AI, and I literally thought it was so fun. It was just a lizard right next to a rock, and it was like, and then one was like, look at this rock I found, and so
So what's next? I want to take these pieces of generative art that the kids are creating, and I want them to start writing stories. And the reason that we just showed you that video is because that person was starting to tell a story. They were adding in some dialogue, and that's where we want to go with it. We want to, help continue to build up the proficiency around like the discrete writing, which is not just going to be for prompt writing. There'll be many times in life where kids need to use discrete writing skills, but also to take these images and create stories off of them. And then who knows, maybe we could take those stories and put them into generative AI and see what popped out too.
Yeah, so you could do it both ways. Like, this was really discrete at first, teaching them about prompt writing to help them, and then we're going to maybe create stories around. You could do it vice versa. So if you have a writing piece, you could think about crafting the perfect prompt to get the right image that illustrates your story. And maybe we have book creators, so maybe they turn it into a children's story. And when you have a book, you need images and illustrations, right? So maybe you write the perfect prompts to get the best images to create your book creator children's book or storybook based on the story. So there's so many ways we can go with this the rest of this year and in their future career as a student, whether you use the writing to create, whether you use the image to create the writing, or whether you're using the writing to create the image. You could do it both ways. So we have something in the chat. This is a great project. What a great way to work on their writing skills in a way that the students enjoy and look forward to. It makes writing fun versus feeling like work. Yeah. I mean, they did not think this, they thought this was fun. If anyone has any questions, you could feel free to put them in the chat. I know we also have Tim Needles on here, who is like the arts guy.
Oh.
So if anyone has questions, and Tim, you could feel free to hop on too. We have 10 minutes. He's the one, if you're going to talk about image generation, like Tim Needles, go to him. He is incredible. He wrote a book called Steam Power. So definitely, if you're in the arts or in the STEM world, Tim's your guy. If you want to hop on, Tim. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, here's Tim. I don't know how to let him in. So, is someone? How does he get in here? Oh. I think I just let him in. Would you mind sharing? Hey, Tim.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Tim. Good. So do you have anything to add about AI image generation? So Rebecca said, would you mind showing the developed algorithm side again? Sure, we'll put that up for you. Does anyone have any images for image generation? And Tim, I've never shared this project with you. And we'll tweet the algorithm out to Rebecca. So if we're going to put our Instagrams up, Twitter's out, XX. Sorry, it's called X. We'll post that for you later today. What do you think of this project, Tim? Because you're like arts, but you never shared this.
I thought it was terrific. I mean, I really like how it's teaching all of these other skills. Actually, is one of the coolest things that they're doing this creative work, but then also learning, how important spelling is, and some of those things are fantastic. I love getting the feedback from the students too. Really terrific.
have you considered as a follow-up using chatbots like Claude or Byte or Perplexity to improve the prompts? So we're very cautious right now on education law 2D, and I just need to make sure that everyone, like, if we're controlling it, we could do that, or if it doesn't require a login. So this was our first step. This was our first step. We haven't gone to the next step. Can you put up the debugging algorithm also? And does anyone have questions for images? Because Tim is here for image. Yeah. I think that's what she have about 7 or 8 minutes. Any other questions you guys have? Tim, I'm a big fan of your work. Marina, yes, please place your Twitter. So we'll put up on the last slide. So if you're interested in AI, just put it up for you here too. I host the Generative Age podcast through Nicegate. We record with a live audience. Tim's been on it. Check that episode out. And we have a bunch. So we just recorded with John Spencer last week. That episode isn't posted yet. Next month, Vicki Davis about human intelligence and artificial intelligence. Ken Shelton with AI bias and discrimination. And I also scheduled Matt Miller with, I call it Shades of Gray, with academic integrity and cheating. So those are all guests to look out for. And then I put up, and I'll just make it larger, both of our X handles. And then also, like, I'm not trying to be salesy. It's really weird for me to do this, but it's the first time I'm presenting and I have a book. So that's a really weird feeling. So my book is out, but more importantly, like, the podcast is how you stay up to date. I just started a newsletter. So if you go to my website, alanawinnick.com, and join my mailing list, I just started a newsletter. I've only had one newsletter so far. And anything that you guys are looking for about AI, please reach out to me. I'm trying to guide all of the sessions. This is powered through Nicegate, where Tim and I are on the board of. So we're trying, as Nicegate, we're trying to give you, and we support this conference, the CS for New York. We are a partner of that too. So if you are interested in AI in any way, and there's something that we can help clarify or give you materials, please let us know, because I'll develop a newsletter around it. I'll develop a podcast episode around it. And Tim, I don't know if you know this yet, but breaking news, we just created a generative age community in our Nicegate IMIS or whatever. So if anyone's a free member of Nicegate, you could join the generative age community and ask questions, share resources, post materials, and that's another way to share as well. But both of our X handles are up there. So weird to say that. Darlene said, I teach college writing for freshman students and just had a meeting about incorporating AI technology into our course content. This is giving me great ideas. Oh, that's great. Darlene, how would you use this with older students? Tell us. Oh, you're reading short stories created by AI for your students with autism and going to use AI to generate images that go along with the story. That's wonderful. If anyone else has any ideas, post them here, because this is a good place to learn from each other. Tim, are you presenting anything today or tomorrow? What are you presenting? Me.
Yeah, I'm presenting tomorrow on CS and arts. So kind of in the same vein, I think it should be a fun one. I also love to hear that you have a new community. That's really cool.
Yeah, we haven't really officially launched it, but it's there. So join it. I think that'll be cool and fun. And then I'm presenting tomorrow, Bot or Not, talking about ethics and academic integrity. So that's tomorrow too. Marina's done for this session, but if you're at Nicegate, she's presenting 3 times, I think, which the limit was 2, but because of the computer science program, she snuck in a 3rd, so broke the rules.
Yeah, we're gonna reshare this presentation at Nicegate, yeah. But by then things will have grown. So don't just if you keep in touch with us, we can keep sharing what we're doing, how we're growing, and also how we see the kids' writing growing, and maybe how it's growing into other areas too.
I think that's all we have for you, unless you have questions. I'm just putting a link in the chat to the Generative Age website, where I will post everything. That's also linked on my alanawinnick.com website. Everything's really linked off of alanawinnick.com. I tried to make one place because it's starting to get a little bit crazy. All Oh, so Rebecca, so you are in the generative gauge workshops. Yeah, so I started workshops through NiceGate too. They're about one a month, and I kind of have bigger topics, but it's been the same people that sign up for all of them. So we're kind of doing it more like a cohort, and we're just building upon it each time. And there's a theme, but generating content based on what people want. So yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Rebecca. We have 3 minutes. Anything else? Anything anyone wants to share in the chat? Ask questions. Otherwise, boy, that's all we have for you. And then we have back to school night in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, parents are coming in. Here's Marina reflect. She's having the parents do exactly what the kids do, but the paper
one,
version, not the technology one. So we're about to
It's a
go
good idea.
right into back to school night. Well, it's so great connecting with everyone, and hopefully we'll see you all at NiceGate in November. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tim.
Tim.
I'll try to check you out tomorrow.
Excellent. I'll see yours.
Okay, bye.